public that we're experimenting with a new type of technology for our video portions of our meeting. So this is being done electronically through a device here in town hall, rather than having a camera operator. So it's kind of interesting to see how the camera will adjust and it will pop in and out. It's a little bit delayed sometimes of catching up with people speaking. So I just want to, if you are watching from home, and please send my office any feedback you might have in terms of, your experience viewing it this way.
It seems to really like Bruce. I don't know. Well, and who
that is cutting you out.
I wasn't on camera twice.
That's right. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Wait, why is this not showing me my note? That is important. The video. Hold on a second. Oh, I opened up the wrong. That's why. That was my fault. Give me 1 minute for people at home. Okay, with that, I will go back to Zoom. And I will. Share that.
There you go. Look at that.
Okay, so with that, for my first Selectmen's updates, I just wanted to spend a few minutes on an important initiative that's coming up on the November 8th ballot. Just to remind the public that there are 3 questions on the ballot this year, in addition to the candidate selection for state office. And the first question is actually a state question relating to early voting. And then questions number 2 and number 3 relate to our town charter revision. And the board has had a number of meetings. There's a lot of information that has been put out about these charter revisions, but I put on the slide here a summary of what the 2 questions are. The first is whether or not the town should extend the term of the Board of Selectmen and the first Selectman from 2 years to 4 years. And then the second question, and it's question number 3. So number 2 is the question relating to the term of the Board of Selectmen. And question number 3 on the ballot is relating to all other changes that are being proposed by the Charter Review Commission. So I just want to, let the public know that this is important questions on the ballot, and the town clerk has a lot of information available, as well as information on our website. I highlighted here what is information that's included on the explanatory text the town has provided about the town charter questions. That document is on the town website and also available in print at the senior center, town clerk's office, and the library. This just highlights some of the bigger changes that are being proposed for the charter. I won't go through these now, but I do encourage the public to read up on this off of the explanatory text that's available on the town website. I'm going to give you some background. And there's a whole lot of other information. There's the actual red line version of the charter that shows all the changes in their full capacity that you can look at online or get in print. And also we've set up an email address where you can email the town, and we will try to respond to any questions you might have. We're limited about how much we can say because we're in this thing called the quiet period. But we will try to answer any questions on a facts basis about what's being proposed with the changes. So just want to highlight that. So email charterinfo@madisonct.org, and you will get a response. And then I think that we will post questions anonymously, obviously, as well as our response to those questions on the town website, similar to what we did during the referendums in February, so that people have an opportunity to submit their questions. So I just want to make sure that everybody's an informed voter. And that.
Can we just, Noreen, can you just confirm you can see everything?
I'm looking at, yes, I can see all the panels that are up.
Okay, great. And you can hear okay?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay,
You cannot see me?
We can't see you, that's why. So usually we can see the video.
Yeah.
It's doing something a little different.
It's a little different because I'm doing a shared screen, but she's there. So
Okay.
it's just showing, and here it's just showing the presentation. So But if I do that.
Good.
All right, I stopped the share. Why didn't it do that?
Toggle.
No, I just stopped sharing. Looks good. Okay,
See
so
that.
on Zoom, it's fine, but,
Why is it still showing that?
oh, maybe I need to go back to,
Just further delayed.
I don't know. So maybe I
What if you
close
click
this
on
out.
this?
Maybe, oh, there we go. Okay, I just have to close the document, I guess. Okay, we're learning how this is gonna work. So with that, I guess I'll turn it over to any other, well, actually, one other thing I do want to mention, and we'll be informing the board about this in the future, is the town is going to be starting to issue new bonds, short-term notes actually in December, to start ramping up for the new school plan and the academy plan. So more details will come on that. It's going to be roughly $8 million we're anticipating in December. I think we might have our bond advisor come to the meeting just to prepare you and kind of talk through where we are. I think there's a lot of discussion about interest rates and what it means for us and all that. But we'll be starting slowly with short-term notes. And then obviously this will be over the next couple of years. It will be transitioning into different kind of financing. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Any other selectmen comments or liaison reports? No.
Well, we had, I don't know, I can't remember when our last Board of Selectmen meeting was, but we did have the Bower Park Harvest Festival, and that was incredible. I have to say, like, just watching the planning that goes into that, from our Bower Park Commission to, you know, our Beach and Rec folks and Austin and his crew, it was amazing. I got, you know, an opportunity to make some cider. I got an opportunity to flip some burgers with the firemen. It was a lot of fun. So much appreciation, and it was a great day. So a lot of people, I think, were there. So it was, the parking lot was full.
It was a great afternoon.
Yeah, they did a really good job.
Beautiful day.
Yeah, it really was.
So,
And then on the same day, we had our pollinators planting activity up at Rockwood. And I got to really understand how that area got its name. Because in trying to dig some plants into the ground, it ran about 1 inch. And nothing but rocks after that. It was a very successful, I believe, something like 250 plants and bushes got into the ground that day. There were maybe 30 volunteers there. And that will be repeated this coming Saturday.
Yeah.
For those who are interested, Saturday morning at 9 a.m. up at Rockwood Preserve. There'll be some more plants available for people with strong backs and strong shovels. The only other thing I wanted to mention was both of our academy committees are at work. The design committee has had its first couple of meetings, and the building committee is rolling right along, getting ready to issue their request for architects' proposals. So they hope to have an architect selected by the end of the calendar year. Great.
oh, that's great. Good. Any other selectmen comments? No, okay. Let's move on to citizens' comments. Any citizens here in person and audience, would they like to, please?
Yes, if you don't mind, I'd like to sit down. I have a back problem. so-
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to speak up, or we can give you the microphone if that's helpful.
Here,
I think we'll
Yeah.
pick you up. We can get you.
I'll speak loud.
Okay, no problem.
First of all, thank you for allowing people like myself to come before you and talk about issues that are on their mind. I really appreciate it. I think it shows your sincere interest in the community. You probably remember me. My name is Bill Porter. I live in Windermere at 6 Sobridge Street. I also represent the Windermere East Owners Association. You will recall I sent you a letter dated June 21st of this year about Cottage Road. It included pictures of the condition of Cottage Road and the vegetation. I asked you to travel on it and see it for yourself. I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to do that. Our concern was the additional 31 rental units soon to be constructed on Cottage Road and safety concerns for drivers, walkers, and bikers. On July 22nd, having not heard from you, I sent a letter to Katie Stein, Chair of the Capital Improvement Committee. I was told by others that this committee, I'm not familiar with town government. I was told this committee was responsible for road improvements. Mrs. Stein basically referred me back to Selectman Lyons. No help from this committee. On July 25th, I attended your meeting here, like tonight, concerning my letter and no response. The only person responding to my comments was Selectman Lyons, who promised to write me a response. On August 15th, I received an email from Selectman Lyons saying other roads in Madison were a higher priority due to their condition. There was a town-wide bike and pedestrian safety study underway, and Cottage Road was in the pipeline for improvement, but there was no budget dollars available, and the town's public works director said it was a low volume road. On August 18th, I responded by email to Selectman Lyons stating we did not agree with Public Works Director's statement about low volume. And our concern was 1 to 2 years from now, when 49 new rental units were being constructed and occupied. This on a half-mile road, 0.3 of a mile apart, 49 units, 2 different developments. We also asked Selectman Lyons to provide us with a list of roads in Madison which were in poorer condition and had a higher priority in 2022 through 2024. Also, who we could talk with on the pedestrian and bike committee, and if she could arrange a clearing of vegetation along Cottage Road so pedestrians could exit the road to avoid oncoming traffic. I never received further correspondence from Selectman Lyons, so I have attempted to pursue progress in other ways. I began following the planning and zoning meetings regarding the proposed 18-unit development on 35 Cottage Road. This is 0.3 of a mile from the 31-unit development called Wellington on Cottage Road. I wrote a letter to Carol Snow, chair of the planning and zoning, and spoke at 2 of their meetings about our concerns regarding Cottage Road. I questioned the reliability of the traffic study at that end of Cottage Road because it was based on October 2021 traffic. There are a large number of summer residents on this road. This study underestimated the traffic on this road and does not consider traffic from the new Wellington project. The 18-unit development at 35 Cottage Road was approved, but interestingly, with the promise that the town and developer would work together to widen Cottage Road and improve drainage, but only at the western end of Cottage Road. This is clearly an indication the town knows improvements on Cottage Road are needed. I made contact with Virginia Rapp of the Pedestrian and Biking Committee to discuss Cottage Road. Ginny knew nothing about our concerns of developments on Cottage Road and the difficulty safely walking on Cottage Road. The committee has been studying biking and pedestrian safety on the Boston Post Road from Mill Road, which is near the Hammonasset Connector, and the Salt Marsh Park. They arranged a road safety analysis by UConn students for this stretch of the road, and it is, I believe, pursuing implementation of their recommendations. I asked Jenny if the road safety analysis could be amended to include Cottage Road, which parallels the Boston Post Road for a half a mile in this exact area. Jenny has not yet responded to this request. Finally, I contacted John Lanico, who I believe is the head of Public Works, about clearing vegetation off the sides of the road so pedestrians could get off the road to avoid oncoming traffic. A particular focus would be on the left side of Cottage Road as people walk from Curry Cross to Dudley. John has been very receptive, but nothing significant has happened yet. I feel like you think I am an enemy of Madison for addressing a Cottage Road situation. It is a situation which must be addressed. Think about 49 rental units under construction with heavy vehicles entering and exiting this narrow road where large trucks coming each way can hardly pass each other. It will become a huge safety issue for pedestrians, bikers, and drivers. the thought has occurred to me that you think I'm making this an issue because it involves affordable housing. I assure you that I am not. I support both of these projects, I swear I do. However, the town has an obligation to cure problems which are caused by projects like this. Any project which the town allows should not be done at the expense of safety and inconvenience for surrounding residents. I predict you will regret not making plans now to update Cottage Road. As a result of my activities involving this project, I have become disappointed by how little communications in town government has occurred regarding this project and the problem it will create for current and future residents in the area, including renters in the planned new projects. I appreciate your time. I hope you will think about my comments. Drive the half-mile Cottage Road and envision the construction activity planned and how it will impact Cottage Road and the surrounding residents. When I got in here tonight, I also thought about something that I'd like to add. I believe it is important that town not generate negative opinions about how affordable housing projects are implemented in town. Affordable housing is an important effort which should avoid headwinds. People need to know these projects are done right. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, thank you. Any other public comment?
Here's one person,
Yep.
I think Gus,
Sort that.
Gus RH. Yeah. That's all, I'll allow him to speak.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, he does.
This is Gus Horvath,
Hey,
formerly resident of Madison, now resident of Clinton. I see my name on the agenda on the second page. So that's what I'm calling about. And what I would like to do is to thank two bodies of people. The leadership of the community, your Board of Selectmen, Board of Education, and Board of Finance, who over the years have been kind enough to appoint me to a number of committees and commissions, and also to the voters of Madison who have elected me to 5 different elective offices. So since 1965, my first appointment, I've served on approximately 25 boards, commissions, and committees. And the last one is on SIP. So this is the closing of this. And it's all Dr. Brown's fault. He appointed me the first committee in October of 1965. And if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't be here talking to you probably. So I just wanted to express my appreciation to the officials of the town of Madison all of these years since 1965, and to the voters who considered that I was a viable candidate and elected me to office. So thank you very much. I'm now in interim living in Clinton in an apartment in my daughter's home. And after the 1st of December, I will be moving to Georgia. I will be moving to a continuing care community, which is about 10 minutes from my other daughter, Pamela, who lives in Sewanee, Georgia. So I will be living in Sewanee, Georgia. It's a small town north of Atlanta. So again, thank you very much, Madison.
you will be missed, Gus. Wow.
Yeah, Gus, thank you so much for your service. You've made an incredible impression and impact on the town over many decades, and we're very grateful for that. I think also just personally, I know you send a lot of emails, but a lot of them are filled with important information, and I appreciate all the advice and suggestions that you make. So we wish you the best.
And we expect you to still send us emails, Gus.
Peggy, but I know we usually don't comment, but since we just did, I want to go back to really Bill Porter. The amount of work he's done is pretty astounding. I happen to know that Bill is also the gentleman who got the men over 60 softball going, and what I understand is like 80, 90 very young seniors on that, thanks to Bill who shepherded it after it had really kind of disappeared. And I for one want to apologize, Bill. I did drive down there and saw the flooding. The day I saw it wasn't super bad, but it was there. And I know there's concern of what the housing will add to that. And I think that's being looked at. P&Z did, as you must have heard at that meeting, did talk about sitting down with the owners to really take a look at that. But other than Peggy, who did get back to you, I do want to apologize on behalf of all the boards and especially the Board of Selectmen for not responding to you. Your letter was very concise and I think you bring up some really great things, and we will certainly, under the guidance of P&Z and John Anako, definitely, I'm sure, take some action, at least look into what we can do. But thank you, Bill, for all your work.
I know typically we don't comment, but I will say that I will be following up with you. There's a couple of factors of reasons I can't send you road lists and things like that. So I think it's better to be handled in a meeting perhaps that we can have together to talk about it. The other thing is knowing that there was a pending application. I didn't feel it would be appropriate to weigh into that situation, but now they've taken a vote and the application was approved last week or 2 weeks ago. So I'll follow up with you. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate all of your concern and your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. I have one other update that I'm realizing I forgot to mention for Board of Ed. So the board is very happy that the funding for the extra security coverage at the school passed this evening at town meeting. So that is very important. Also, the Board of Ed had a retreat on September 27th. It went very well, and they identified priorities for the upcoming budget season. The board is very thankful to Peggy for supporting a proposal to fund badly needed tennis court improvements using ARPA funds for this worthy capital project that will benefit the whole community. The board is equally thankful that the ad hoc ARPA committee adopted this project at the last meeting. So.
Great, and we'll be talking about that tonight,
Yep.
right? Yep. Okay, well, with that, if everybody's ready, we'll go into, and that was it for public comment, right? That's great. All right, thank you. Okay, on to business. I would like to make a motion to approve the items of the consent agenda as follows, with the tabling of item number B6.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any questions or comments on the consent agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. Item number 2, discuss process to opt out of the accessory dwelling unit provisions of Public Act number 21-29. And I think Erin was supposed to be, you're moving Erin up, good, great. She can kind of brief us on, this has to do with some legislation that was passed last year. The town has a certain window where it has to make some decisions. Some of this planning and zoning has to do it, and there's an action that the Board of Selectmen also needs to take action on. So Erin, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. I wanted to give you an update on the process for or that the Planning and Zoning Commission has initiated, which is an opt-out process with respect to PA 2129. As many of you know, this was legislative, it was a heavy zoning session that was approved in July of 2021, and that included significant changes to Title 8, which is the zoning enabling statutes. In that, there were provisions set up for accessory apartments, definitions created for the accessory apartment, as well as several provisions that shall become effective actually January 1st, 2022, with the caveat that municipalities have the option of opting out of these statutes by January 1st, 2023. And in order, that was spelled out in the Public Act, the process to opt out, which does require the Planning and Zoning Commission to initiate this process with a 2/3 vote. The Planning and Zoning Commission has to hold a public hearing on the matter, and which our commission has initiated this process to kind of weigh the options, weigh our existing planning or zoning regulations that we have currently for accessory apartments, and then to compare those to the proposed language in the new law. And so hold a public hearing and decide whether or not they feel it's appropriate to opt out. And they have to make that decision within 65 days of closing the public hearing. A decision needs to be run in the newspaper, legal notice, and then that decision needs to be ratified by you as the governing body, also with a 2/3 vote. So I wanted to just introduce you to this item, let you know that staff is working with the commission with a side-by-side comparison of what our existing statutes are and the new regulations. Basically, we have 4 options. If we fail to, our current zoning regulations, just so you know, do not comply with the statutes, and for a couple of reasons. And so we have an option. If we fail to opt out as of January 1st, the statutes take precedence and our current regulations become null and void. So we do, as a municipality, have the option of doing nothing and waiting until January 1st when the statute then becomes effective. We have the option to modify our current regulations to meet all the standards in the new law. 3, we have the option of opting out and maintaining our current zoning regulations for accessory apartments. And 4th, we have the option of opting out and modifying our current zoning regulations to basically cater to some of the provisions in the statutes or none. We're at a point, the planning, the commission is beginning the plan of conservation and development. We've made great steps in adopting our affordable housing plan. I think housing and housing diversity will be a very relevant topic included in our update. I think the commission may have some suggestions for modifying our current regulations, but I think there may also be a desire to preserve those rights to decide what, on a local level, what regulations the commission feels best for Madison, rather than having that come down from the state. So we do have kind of a consensus from other towns how they're handling this. Many municipalities within our Council of Governments have decided to opt out of the state language. And some of that, various reasons. We do have to state on the record our reasons if we do decide to opt out. But I wanted to let you know that this is a conversation where we started this at our last meeting last week on the 20th. We're going to continue this a little bit at our next meeting, in our first meeting in November. And the public hearing will open at the second meeting on November 17th. Where the commission's going to now start looking at the side-by-side comparison, allow for some public feedback. And this very much needs to be a joint decision-making, I think, between both boards. And so I wanted to see if you're interested in attending the planning and zoning meeting, the public hearing, to hear a little bit more. If you'd like me to come back to you with a little more detail on the side-by-side comparison. If you'd prefer that I just email you the chart so that you could read through that. I think that's all. I just wanted to let you know that you will play a role in this if there is a decision to opt out of this statute. This is a fairly new concept. I think this was a compromise when these laws came into effect, I think to appease some of the municipalities. This is a significantly watered down version of the initial language that was proposed as part of that whole desegregate Connecticut bill. So it does, I can I can give you some more specifics as far as the benefits of opting out, should you wish to talk about that either tonight or another meeting.
Can I just add, and I apologize because I might have zoned out for a second. So what action specifically is the Board of Selectmen taking?
Board of Selectmen, you have to ratify the decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So if the Planning and Zoning Commission looks at and weighs our current regulations versus what the state is proposing to mandate effective as of January 1st, and the Planning and Zoning Commission decides, no, I think there's reason to opt out and preserve our regulations as they are. The only way to formally opt out is to have both boards vote with this 2/3 majority vote. So after the Planning and Zoning Commission acts, it will be your responsibility to ratify that, to make that decision official.
So we're just a yay or nay.
What's that?
We're just a yay or nay in that situation. We're not necessarily deciding which option to select.
No, you're welcome to give your opinion. But ultimately, it's a zoning regulation, yes.
I don't know where our rules of the road are.
It may be asked a different way. If the planning and zoning votes one way and we vote another way, what happens?
It has to be both parties. So it has to be both boards. So I think that's where communication and understanding where, you know, the language for our existing regulations kind of came from and the reasoning behind that. Some of the reasons why we may consider language in the statute, and other reasons why the town as a whole wants to preserve the right to change your regulations as is. You know, a lot of feedback from land use attorneys has guided municipalities to opt out of this option, and mostly because we don't know what the statute could change to in the future. We could still opt out and adopt every one of the provisions in the current language. But that just maintains your ability to change them as the needs of our community may change, specifically related to Madison. So yes.
Oh, go ahead.
May I just ask, or make a note that I felt that, and I could be wrong, Aaron, this is before your time, but as I recall, Madison P&Z was very motivated with accessory dwelling apartments. But we might have some regulations that aren't exactly what the state is doing now, and maybe adjustments have to be made. But I recall some of those meetings, and we found it, or the commission members found it a way to really help with housing. Some more creative solutions, and they were doing it before they had to. So
I agree. I agree with you, Noreen. Some of our regulations are from the 1980s, and we are ahead of many municipalities allowing accessory dwellings as of right. As of right, meaning there's no special exception, no public hearing process where that discretionary review is required by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So in many ways, we do meet the intent of the statute. I think some of the more specific language where we don't necessarily is when it comes to a detached structure. And our current code, you know, the provisions of the statute want municipalities to treat accessory dwellings in the same manner that you would a single family dwelling, which includes setbacks and coverage and building height and things of that nature, whether it's attached or detached. And we have more restrictive regulations for our detached accessory structures. For example, we don't allow them in the front yard. And so this is more of a kind of, it doesn't necessarily relate specifically to accessory apartments, but that does challenge our accessory structure regulations. And because we require the greater distance setbacks or the lower roof lines for our incidental structures, that does not leave us in compliance with this statute. So those are other, the word character was also removed from the statutes at the time, but those are similar character type regulations that were put in place specifically by the commission and not really relating to accessory apartments initially, but really just to keep that those accessory structures in the size and bulk coverage that we were looking for.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
And Erin,
Yeah.
you mentioned that if we choose to opt out, we need to provide some kind of explanation.
Yes.
Question is, I'm very curious, who's going to evaluate our explanation and what criteria are they going to use?
So there really isn't. This language is kind of unusual in my opinion. I've never seen this before, giving this opting out option. I think this really was some type of a compromise, and maybe this will happen more in the future, in future sessions. But it really is your one chance. No one's reviewing your decisions to make sure that they're valid. It's just spelling out the process that a municipality has to follow, essentially giving the towns or cities an out to not
So we
have
just-
to comply with that specific language.
That's it. No.
Well, I think it would be helpful to kind of have once the commission has met on this, to maybe have a meeting with us, maybe you and Carol could join us together and you could kind of give us a 101 on some of this, in terms of
Yes.
what we use and what the statute is recommending. And then, so we understand a little bit more of the background so that if the recommendation is to opt out, we've got a little bit more of a, background and understanding.
Absolutely.
I know I've heard from, when I've gone to our regional council of governments, and most towns are opting out. And it's not, once again, lack of support for ADUs. I think it's more about this issue about you're now tied to something that the state can change and went into something else. We'd rather keep our ability to, make local decisions. And as Aaron pointed out, even if we were to, move forward and adopt everything, who knows what that could look like 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 6 years from now. So this gives us the ability to react and make sure that we're, working within what our plan is and what our Affordable Housing Commission recommends. So I think it may be worth then, I guess this would, this has to be done by the end of the year, right? So we kind of.
Right. So
Yeah.
You're going to see this in December that's kind of just to earmark this for a December agenda item.
When you say see this, are we going to be voting in November? So we might want to have, or should we plan on attending the public hearing? Will that give some of that educational background for us? The public hearing?
Sure. If you are available to come to that meeting, absolutely, that would be insightful, at least where you can kind of listen to the discussion of the Planning and Zoning Commission and participate in the hearing. You're more than welcome if you're unable to attend that. I'll plan to come to a subsequent Board of Selectmen meeting where I can kind of give you that breakdown. The Planning and Zoning Commission has already asked for a legal opinion, as far as the opting out process and reasons for that. So I'll be able to share that with you as well from our land use attorney. And I can give you in a chart form a pretty good breakdown. We've already got that started between our existing regulations, what the state's requiring, and how that affects us and what we need to consider.
I'm curious, does this impact mostly new accessory dwellings that, like, I want to make sure, obviously, that we're not then penalizing existing folks. And I'm assuming the regulation that is in place now covers them already, right? The accessory dwellings that people have on their properties.
They've been approved.
They've already been approved, right? So is there any risk? of,
Correct.
like,
They could in turn become legally non-conforming, where they wouldn't necessarily, if the new regulation took effect as of January 1st, and those were approved under the previous, with a permit through the previous regulation, they would now become legally non-conforming. Some instances, they would then be able to, and actually they may be more conforming under the new, there's more leniency under the
Right.
new regulation. So
They're down there.
That's what I'm worried
Yeah,
about, right?
no, no, no.
we're not,
It just means
Yeah.
going forward, that doesn't, they were legal, but they're not conforming to the existing regulation, the new regulation.
And the
So-
building officer polices this? Who polices this?
this is a zoning regulation.
No,
So it would, our planning and our zoning regulations would be amended to automatically reflect the statute as of January 1st, 2023.
So,
It allows for greater square footage, no requirements for annual affidavits, some of these things that we currently require. And we do require any exterior changes go before our advisory committee for community appearance, and that would not be allowed under the current or under the proposed statute.
Aaron, may I just ask, when I talk to the public, one of the things they always bring up when it comes to zoning is matter of right. And,
Yes.
and it really means in some development that there is no public hearing, that the neighbors don't
Yes.
get to. But Madison right now, with our regulations that we have now, do we include a matter of
We
right?
are as of right, yes, which is our current regulations, interior alterations. So if it were the creation of an accessory dwelling unit within the existing home and did not include any exterior changes, can be approved administratively through the zoning officer. And anything that includes exterior changes would be subject to a site plan approval with the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is considered an as of right activity. A site
Okay.
plan approval is an administrative approval through the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So it just takes the neighbors out, that's all. We still have other people looking at it.
Right. A site plan by statute is an automatic approval within 65 days if the Planning and Zoning Commission fails to act. So essentially, it's the commission acting administratively. If it meets the zoning requirements, that shall be approved. There's not that discretionary component that is with a special exception.
so, I mean, we're, as you said, less regulated with ADUs than other communities, because a lot of them are special exception, right? They have to go through the whole.
There are a lot of towns that don't even allow accessory apartments. So yes, and from my experience in Guilford, every accessory apartment in a detached structure was a special permit use, which required public hearing and oftentimes had public input. So in many ways, we have good regulations. I think they could be, allow for greater flexibility in floor area. And those are minor modifications that the commission can entertain.
And I do think COVID opened our eyes to some of this, the granny pods, as they call them, or our kids, can work from home, they can move home now. I think people start looking at ways that if their houses just couldn't fit these people and there was space on their property.
Well, I think we look at it, right. And I think we look at it again as flexibility, where we may, we have the two different types of affordable housing, the capital A affordable housing and that lowercase a. And the capital A is what's deed restricted or what meets the state's requirements for that 10%, but we're creating a lot of this lowercase a, that these smaller accessory apartments really are affordable, but they're just not deed restricted or counting as that. So it does allow, like you said, for greater flexibility for people, and for income, for multiple reasons.
Okay, well, with that, I think is, more to come,
Yeah.
and then we'll have a more detailed discussion on what this all entails in terms of our zoning. So thank you, Erin, and.
Thank you.
We'll plan on seeing you back again to talk more about this and eventually taking action in December on it. Okay,
Sounds good. Thanks.
all right, great, thank you. Okay, so moving on to item number 3, discuss and take action to award the request for proposal of theatrical lighting system upgrades at Danahan High School to DBL Companies in the amount of $40,500, and to authorize the first selectman to sign all contracts and documents associated with this award.
So moved. Second?
Okay, any discussion or questions about this?
This is a CIP. project.
That
Yeah.
it appears that we only, if I read this correctly, we only received one bid. And I think
Yes.
I think in the past what we've done, and I could be wrong, it could have changed, but in the past, we've included a letter or something explaining that. So if anybody goes back and looks at why we didn't look at more offers, more bids.
Billy can probably explain.
I think it's illegal. It would be legal. And just to explain, obviously, when it comes to municipal,
No, we
Pending.
did, I think just at our last meeting, we actually had a no bid also, or one bid contracted. And we went with it. I can't remember. Bill, go ahead and explain. You did an RFP, right?
Yes,
no?
we did an RFP. We had a walkthrough, only one company came. It's a very unique situation, the lighting project in stage lighting. We actually solicited and tried to get people to come. It's a short window, a short schedule. I think if BL company wasn't working for us on another job, I don't know if they would have even considered this. So we were hoping to get additional ones, but we did not. The other thing is it's time sensitive. We're trying to get it out to bid and finished so we can get it for next summer. We'd like to do the work over the summer months. So those are the reasons, I'd like the board to consider just the one bid and award the contract to BL.
Bill, I have no objection at all with that. I just think in the past, as I recall, and you might have done it last month. We just put something in that just clarified a little bit for future any legal questions.
Yeah, no, and I think, I will say that one of the things we're working on here that we're gonna roll out soon is a cover letter now for all contracts that the board votes on, that shows the process, the approvals. If there's one bid, we're kind of almost there, I think, of the document. Also, the source of funding, which we didn't put in here, but, I know we try to get it into the motion, but we're designing a one pager. So it's like, you can look at that one pager and it'll show who reviewed it, where the money was coming from, all that stuff. So we'll be consistent going forward then, with that, okay? Any other questions? So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great, thanks. Next one, discuss and take action to approve a fee schedule for the downtown electric vehicle chargers and to authorize the first selectman to sign all contracts and documents associated with this award.
So moved. Second?
Okay, so this has to do with the chargers downtown. We originally had received grant money to install those, and I think there was a restriction on charging. It had to be free to the public. We're long past that date, from what my understanding. And so they've been free, and on the town's dime, we've been kind of allowing people to charge their vehicle. So the software system that's in their charge point is, set up to allow people who have a charge point account to start, hooking up and charging for it. So other towns have already moved in this direction. They all were charging now except us. So I know this seems a little last minute, but Bill and I were talking about it. I'm like, we're still not charging for that. So, and I realized we have to really go through the board of selectmen since it's a fee schedule technically. And Bill came up with the 20 cent per kilowatt or amount. Do you want to talk about that for a second? Just kind of what you did to come up with that recommended pricing, Bill?
Sure. So, of course, our former chairman of the Energy Committee, you know, was a huge asset, and I still talk to him at great lengths. He helped me, you know, do some research on what the going rate has been and what the surrounding towns are. You know, I think 25 cents is not an uncommon rate, but probably on the high side. You know, we estimate 20 cents will cover the electrical cost about. And, you know, we don't want to be the highest. So Peggy and I discussed it. We thought 20 cents was a good number. We're not charging anything now. So, you know, we don't want to discourage people from coming downtown, and we don't want to be the highest. So we thought 20 cents was a good rate to start at.
And I think the idea here is this is like a switch, you can kind of change it, you know, when you want to change it, it's all through software, correct? So, we thought, let's see how this goes, see if it has an impact on usage, you know, if we feel we're under market or over market, we can always change the fees.
So, okay, so a couple of questions. Who's responsible for maintaining the units?
We are the town.
Okay, so is there a preventative maintenance or replacement fee baked into the 20 cents?
There is not.
There is not. Do our electric rates go up and down during the day?
Our electric bids are based primarily on the demand cost. You know, so our rates, we have a contracted rate for, you know, I think it's just over 7 cents. Plus, you know, the CLMP charge, which is regulatory, you know, regulated. So those are our two rates, plus the demand rate, depending on the demand of the service. So that's how our electric rates are based.
So is it one charge at noon and one charge at midnight?
No, it's the same. It's a flat rate per kW. And depending on the demand, each facility has different demand costs. For example, the high school, our biggest facility, you can imagine that demand's pretty huge compared to the demand on this facility, this service, although, you know, it peaks. So it's the highest demand on 1 month, you know, each year, you know, so whatever that the high demand is, that we pay that fee every month, and every year it's reset.
Well, I mean, I'd be in favor of getting it started, but I think that in the long term, we should be accommodating maintenance and replacement.
Like a reserve almost.
Reserve
Yeah.
that so that when the machine goes down, there's money to.
That's not a bad idea, and I think when we come back with the EV rollout, water EV plan, that's a good thought to look at. And we could do this for 6 months and then maybe discuss it at the end of the fiscal year and come up with a bigger plan.
If we start looking at usage, too,
Yeah.
and I don't have any.
Because to be honest, we haven't really done a lot of monitoring. You know, we had complaints because people were just parking there all day using it and, you know, not allowing others in and once you start charging. Yeah.
So does ChargePoint have the ability to start charging rent on the unit for a fully charged vehicle that's not disconnected?
My understanding is yes, but we didn't get into that. We were just going to charge for the,
People
you know,
sit
start
there.
off for the fee and
So-
electrical use. We can look into
Right,
those
so-
options.
So if Scott parks his car in the morning, it's charged by 10, but it doesn't come back until 5. He pays an hourly fee because he's
Taking the parking spot.
because
Yeah.
on policing, it's a problem for us, right? The last thing we want to do is
Yeah.
be policing these cars, and I think a fee on the owner of the car would be a way to just self-police.
Well, I
We
think
can bring that back with additional information. I think you're correct. I know we've talked about that. I think there's a 4-hour minimum or something like that, and then the fee gets pretty steep. So we encourage them to get out of there so someone else can use it. I don't know what those details are, but I've heard about it and I believe it can do that. I need to double check that.
But I also think that the thought was because it was free, you were getting people who live in town using it because, hey, it's free electricity. But if you're gonna pay for it, you'd rather charge it at home, right? And keep it available for, you know, people visiting town who are trying to charge up with a visiting town. So that was like the thought of the charging alone will, you know, discourage some people from using it who live in town. Because most people charge their vehicles at home.
do we benefit 100% from the chargeback? So does ChargePoint, do we get a direct deposit into our account from ChargePoint, or are we paying ChargePoint also for the service?
We're paying ChargePoint a 10% fee,
So what is the net of the 20 cents per kilowatt hour?
18 cents.
18 cents, thank you.
Bill, have you got an estimate of the revenue that we may be enjoying?
Yes, of course I did, because Peggy asked me of that. And it really, since we don't have, it's always been free. It's hard for us to actually judge, but based on last year's bill and then an estimate of the lights that are attached to the same meter that won't be part of this, I'm suggesting we could consider between $4,000 and $5,000 of revenue. And that's if it's used the same amount it was last year. Once we put the fee in, everyone might not use it. You know, it's hard to tell. I also looked into what we cost. I think in the last couple of years, I think we did an upgrade for $300 on a modem, because we went from 3G to 5G. So we upgrade the modem. There has been minimal to no expenses on this system since we got it. So, you know, that's because it's new. I expect there will be some repairs someday in the future, but you know, it's relatively new. I heard there's minimal cost at all. There is a fee for the software. It's $500 a year about.
And I think, you know, as we look at more of these with the grant money that we just, or the matching fund we just approved, because we're still kind of working out the details of the EV charger rollouts. That'll help us get on a program better, I think, about how we're going to do this, you know. But I thought if we could just start with this and then come back with a bigger plan, you know. Those are all great questions and great points. You know, I hadn't like thought about that. I didn't realize they could do that, like penalties if you stay at the charger. I didn't know that.
I didn't know they could, but it just seems like we're not the
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
we're not the first entity to have
Yeah.
this problem. There's gotta be a way to do it, and
Yeah, well, I always think of the people at the gas pump that pull up, fill their tank up, and then they go shopping. Inside for 20 minutes or whatever, and you're waiting to get.
DJs.
Yeah, so, well, I guess with that, I mean, if you're comfortable with the initial fee, and like I said, we're able to adjust this, we could move forward with the first step and start charging and see where it goes. So with that, then all in favor of approving this fee schedule, that's Bill sent around, say aye. Aye. Okay, great. All right. See if we get any complaints. I mean, we need to be covering for this electricity. So item number 5 is discuss and take action to approve accepting the 2022 OPM Transit Oriented Development Grant Program for Woodland Road, Route 79, and Bradley Road sidewalk construction in the amount of $206,488, and to authorize the first selectman to sign all contracts and documents associated with this award.
So moved.
second,
Okay, great. Well, this was obviously exciting news to receive, you know, a couple weeks ago, and with the governor's visit, just to highlight all the great pedestrian projects that we're trying to get, you know, more pedestrian availability downtown. And this project actually is the second grant. The first one was awarded to us, I think, 4 years ago. And as we're finding a lot of projects, as we went through the project, we realized the grant was not going to cover the cost of the project because it was a lot more expensive. And so we thought the great way to fill that funding gap so we can complete it would be this TOD grant. So John, I don't know if you want to just tell them where we are in the process, because this is going to hit the start in the spring, isn't it? This sidewalk?
Right, well, so it's in design right now, and it's at DOT being reviewed. And so that's the goal, is to be in construction fall, in summer.
And this was, there was a public hearing held, and I think the neighbors, everybody was very excited about this, because it's gonna go from Concord Meadows up to 79, down 79, part of Bradley Road by St. Margaret's, you know, in that strip there, so the senior center will be connected, and then up 79 continues to Route 1.
Wow.
So it's all gonna be sidewalks, which is great. So,
So needed.
so any other questions for John on this? No?
As I recall, I think the first grant was about 400,000, correct, John?
Yes, correct.
So so this would complete the project. This would be done now. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the latest estimate based on pretty final designs was $706,000. So there's a $206,000 TOD grant that we just received, plus the $400,000 CCCP grant and $100,000 town match. Will fund the entire project.
Exciting.
It'd be nice to see that get done, so. All right, with that, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Excellent. So next item is discuss and take action to approve accepting the 2022 OPM Transit Oriented Development Grant program for the Madison Center Project Streetscape Improvements Phase 3 in the amount of $761,134, and to authorize the first selectman to sign all contracts and documents associated with this award.
So moved. Second.
And this is for the rest of the Madison Center project that basically starts near the firehouse and goes through 79. What we did to apply for this grant was we had a cost estimate for the plans that had been finalized back in 2014, I think they were, right? If you recall, way before that, and Noreen and Al could probably speak better to it, originally the whole plan was on one plan, right? All the way from Wall Street to 79. And then because of, you know, just the expense of it, it got re-engineered down and they focused on only a portion of Route 1. So the idea is now to take from the portion that didn't get done and complete it. So now we have funding from this grant. We also received a steep grant, which we voted on at a previous meeting, of $500,000 from the state. And then, oh, it's on this one. I can't remember what we voted on. Okay, so anyways, I'll just say it now. This, and then also some funding from ARPA. So this will give us a whole package. And based on the recent cost estimate, allow us to proceed forward with the third phase of the project.
Exciting.
Hooray.
Yeah.
So really excited about this. I think everybody just would love to see, you know, this get completed. And it's it'll be a huge benefit to the downtown. And what I do want to do is invite the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and CIP. I'm going to set up a walking tour in the next couple of weeks when a day is nice. So everybody really, I think, refreshes their memory of what's been done, but also what's to come. And so just to put it all into perspective, because I went down recently with John, I hadn't really walked it in a while, and it truly is going to be amazing when you walk from the train station and you take grant money funded Bradley Road and then through Tuxas Walkway to Route 1. I mean, a lot of hard work, both with our previous town planner, who I know worked very hard on some of these previous grants, as well as the Economic Development Commission. So there was a lot of volunteers, and I think at one point there was a community, there was a committee just on the downtown center project. So a lot of thought went through this, and it'll be exciting to kind of see it take the final step, you know, to be connected to Route 79. So
Do we have a sense of when that's going to start?
well, we've got, yeah, I'll turn that over to John.
John's got a lot on his plate
I know.
When that's going to start,
Tomorrow.
I
I
think,
don't know. So for the first step, obviously that we're working on is the utility work.
Yeah.
Utility project. You know, that's the focus right now.
and I
Which has
think,
been an adventure.
Yeah.
yes, well, I think that's gonna be, I think they're gonna be meeting with business owners soon, or commercial property owners soon, to talk about the electrical hookups, because every property down there is gonna have to need like a new electrical box on their building, so they could hook up to the underground utility. So they have to be modifications or new box depending on the condition. So we're meeting with property owners about that. Once that gets finalized, then that would start, and then once everybody's got their new box, is when finally, you know, we can have Eversource come in and do that final work of removing the utility poles. And I actually did this in a meeting with Eversource this morning, so they are thrilled with this too. And I forgot to tell you, but I talked to her, and we should have a planning meeting with them soon, so they know that phase 3 is coming and all this other stuff. So
Peggy, I think we, the selectmen, should compliment everybody who's involved in getting these grants filed. Obviously, we seem to know what we're doing these days. applying for grants.
No, we've had a lot of effort has gone into this, and I'll shout out to Lauren Rhines, who's our new grant coordinator, who worked closely with staff. Also, the finance department has done a lot of work in pulling information and making sure that we've accounted for everything appropriately. Town planner was involved with this, public works. We had a big roundtable. It was really truly a team effort. And we kind of, every time a deadline came up, we said, okay, what are we going to apply for? What do we need? Let's make sure this happens. There's more to come. We've got a long list. You know, the strategy, the challenge though, I think, is having the bodies to execute on the grants once we get them. So I think that's where we're trying to be. We got to be a little tactical moving forward. But some of the stuff is longer term. That we'll be applying for in the future, though, we'll get a little breathing room to focus on.
But we don't actually always do the work, right? We tend to outsource some of it too, right?
We do, but it takes staff oversight and management,
project
project
manager.
management. Yeah, so you know, and these are pretty big projects, but we're also winding down some soon, right? One of the bridge projects is going to be completed soon. And maybe what we'll do is have John come in maybe towards the end of this year and just talk about what we accomplished this year, and then what it looks like for next year in terms of timing on some of these big projects. So you can get a better sense of what's on their plate.
Love it.
Okay?
May I just add,
Go ahead.
Peggy, you mentioned that there were committees, there have been over the years. I don't know how much work it would be for staff to look, but I remember they were meeting, you know, every other month for years. I mean, I remember Deb Bonnell being one of the originals. Deb passed away more than a decade ago. Pam McKinnon was one of the people. I mean, these are the people that picked out the brick, picked out the curb, the lights, the base of the bike lane, you know, rack, everything. And also the big issue always being the electricity and what we were going to do. And I have to say, I think that's one of the caused the biggest problems, because that number changed so significantly from month to month. It was pretty amazing way back when. But there were, I bet you there were about 15 different people, volunteers that worked on this over the years, and some don't live in town anymore, but they're in the area.
Well, I think we're gonna have a big pole removal party when we're at that point, yeah.
I like to think.
So we'll figure something out for sure, because I think a lot of people deserve a lot of
Sort of a bar.
acknowledgement. Yeah, acknowledge pole removal. We'll all like stand up with the ropes and take them down. So with that, all in favor of approving the grant, say aye. Aye. Okay, great. And then item number 7, discuss and take action to approve accepting a small town economic assistance program steep grant in the amount of $500,000 for the Madison Center project streetscape improvement phase 3, and to authorize the first selectman to sign all contracts and documents associated with this award approved
So
by
moved.
Board of Finance. Okay.
Second.
All right, and no further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Item number 8, discuss and take action to approve accepting a sustainable materials management grant award in the amount of $54,500 to Madison's food scrap and unit-based pricing co-collection pilot program, and to authorize the first select woman to sign all contracts and documents associated with this award approved by Board of Finance 10/19/22.
So moved.
Okay, great. So this is probably more complicated to talk about than all the other grants. So I'll just spend a second on it. But what this is a pilot program that the state is trying to encourage people to reduce their trash of what they're throwing into the trash bin. And I think food waste accounts for like something like 30% of the weight that goes to trash facilities. So if we get the food out of the trash and handle it separately through creating energy. And we have these things called anaerobic digesters. I think there's 2 in the state of Connecticut that can convert the food waste to energy. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. So this program is basically allowing residents to sign up to, for 1 year, agree to separate their trash, their food from the regular trash. And the hauler will then take these, and the orange bags will be the regular trash and the purple bags will be the food waste, and then they're taken to a facility separated and the food waste goes to a different facility. And so the grant money will cover the cost of the trash bags and a fee to the hauler. And so we've been in conversations with, we're working with an advisor, a consultant the state has hired, as well as our regional council of governments on this. Guilford's doing the same program. We'll be pushing out information about this, and then people say if they're interested, we're gonna try to come up with a route that makes sense with our local trash haulers. So haulers are gonna opt in if they want to participate in the program, and then we'll try to come up with something that makes sense and see how it goes. They're looking for data collection to see how good people are doing this and separating it. They've done pilot programs in, I think it was Stonington and Meriden. This has become very popular, like in Massachusetts. So it's an opportunity. We have a lot of residents interested in composting and things like that. So it's a great chance to try this out. I know, because it's not just with the compost, it's usually like your vegetable scraps or maybe your eggshells, depending on your philosophy. But you can't put like the T-bone steak leftovers in there, or the, other things. So this is actually all your food waste that instead of putting it in the trash, you would put it in the special container that would get picked up once a week. So that's what this is about. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how many residents. I think we need to have 300 residents, I think is the target to make this work. And I think we'll probably get there.
Definitely.
So that's what this is. This comes from the Department of Environmental Protection, the grant. Any further questions?
Are we the only town around here or all towns?
No, Guilford is doing it and we are doing it. We're very similar because we kind of had the same characteristics. So we came up with a program that would work in both towns. I think there's a couple other in the COG that are doing it, but the programs are a little different. Some of them have municipal trash pickup, which we don't have. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. But I know John and his department has also been working on this and helpful. And we'll have you'll see some stuff going up on the website, and surveys are going to go out to residents and stuff. And there's a whole separate, actually, it looks great, just like this whole website they've set up that the consultant has handled all of this. So with that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, great. So more to come on that, you'll see, and you can sign up for it. Item number 9, discuss and take action to approve a recommendation from the ad hoc ARP funding committee to fund round 10 ARP funding in the amount of $1,672,979 approved by the Board of Finance, October 19th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and this is some of the larger projects on here are relating to what we talked about at our CIP workshop, where we were looking to take some projects out of CIP and fund them through alternative means so that we could, keep the CIP budget focused on other projects. And there was 2 that was identified. One was the tennis courts for the Board of Education, but also as a community project, because we think that it's a community asset, tennis courts. And then secondly was a medicine center project. And then there's a couple other items in there, which I don't remember. You have a list in your packet, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Discussion?
Quick question
Yep.
for Stacy. The monies coming out of ARPA now mean any funding that was in CIP goes back to the general CIP fund?
So the way the CIP is structured right now with the recommendation coming out for this budget season, we already reduced the projects with a grant offset. So the total project in CIP is gross, and then we offsetted it with a grant offset, including ARP funding. So the money would not be available to transfer out. That's
So there was no reserve being accumulated. Okay, got it.
So any other questions on this? Just to highlight too, that this leaves a minimal amount in ARP funding, right, left, $68,000. Okay.
There you go.
So, which is great, and maybe at one point we'll summarize all the different things that the community was able to do with the ARP funding. There's also 1 or 2 projects that had been identified for ARP last year, voted on by this board, that we might want to rethink. And I'm going to bring those to another meeting. because we kind of did them with a different lens when we made these recommendations last year, so we might want to talk about those again and see if we have other priorities we want to select for.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, number 10, discuss and take action to approve a special appropriation in the amount not to exceed $130,000 to purchase one 2022 F-250 pickup truck and related equipment and 2022 Ford F-350 dump body truck and related equipment from the state of Connecticut contract. This purchase has been approved through the 2022-2023 capital improvement program to authorize the first selectman to sign all contracts and documents associated with this award approved at Board of Finance 10/19/2022.
So moved. Second.
Okay, originally, our vehicle replacement plan that we had kind of established 2 years ago was going to try to lease when it made sense. And I will say right now, with the scarcity of vehicles and where the rates are, we thought it just did not make sense for these purchases to lease them. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about where the rates were coming and the amount of interest that we would incur.
Sure, so the original plan, correct me if I'm wrong, just gonna did all the work. The original plan had 4 vehicles to be replaced for this current fiscal year. When we went out and Kristen got rates from 3 different places, the lowest rate came in at 4%, the highest came in at 6%. The total financing charges for these 2 vehicles alone would have been $15,000. So we thought rather than committing to a 5-year lease at this 4%, why don't we purchase a few vehicles that are available right now? The other ones, the availability is questionable. We did order the big, huge dump truck that will not be in for months, probably summer or fall, maybe. So our thought is we may come back and we'll lease that one, but we didn't want to commit to leasing right now if the vehicle's not available.
Yeah, that was the problem. We're trying to bundle everything here. You go into this package, but availability is hard. And then I will say the costs of these vehicles have gotten a lot higher. So we're kind of re-looking at the whole replacement plan in light of this. And I'm also going through a review with staff about kind of the needs for some of the replacement vehicles in some of the future years. So we're going to try to stick with what we put together, but make it, you know, so we can afford it. And it may be taking some of them out of the fleet replacement plan. So we'll have a kind of a revised schedule for that. But in talking to the chair of the Board of Finance, he thought that this made sense just to move forward with the, you know, special appropriation right now.
For the vehicles that we do eventually need to replace, will you guys be recommending a reserve account, sort of like what we do with fire engines and things like that, where we're saving over the course of the expected life of the vehicle so that when it comes time to be replaced?
Yep, we have the highway equipment replacement reserve fund right now. And the plan was to replace all these with a lease payment that would come out of that fund. But now we're thinking we can carve these 2 out, pay cash for them, which would make funds, even more funds available in that reserve.
Because I think what we found ourselves was we kept stretching the vehicles to the point where the duct tape didn't work anymore. And all of a sudden, we were just hit with a lot of replacements all at once, and we want to get into a phase in and phase out schedule that's more staggered.
Absolutely, and we've been in, I have to give Kristen all the credit, you know, we spread out when we had that study last year, or the year before, they came in with over $1 million of replacement, almost 1.9 of vehicles to be replaced in year 1. And Kristen worked out a schedule to replace them all over a 6-year period, and with John's help, of course, of what we actually need. So we're right on that as far as the financing plan, as well as updating the replacement, you know, schedule as we go along.
Thanks, perfect. Good job, Kristen.
Yes, she's, I probably drove.
I bet.
crazy, I'm gonna say, I'm saying, like, I'm looking at different scenarios.
Yes.
But
They make it dynamic.
well, and I did finally, Stacy just said, why aren't we just paying cash for this? You know, I'm like, well, I guess we could do that. So,
It's hard. when you
Well,
see
geez.
it.
yeah. So with that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 10, discuss and take action to award a contract again for new.
We can follow up. Yeah.
11, I mean, discuss the schedule again for new Ford F-250 pickup truck and related equipment not to exceed $48,733, purchase off state contract as part of the capital improvement program, highway department vehicle replacement schedule, and to authorize for select one to sign all contracts and documents associated with this award, approved by Board of Finance 10/19/22.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great, and I think that's just the same thing, it's just the same.
Right.
This is purchasing the first, there's two. To purchase the sign the contract.
Oh, right, okay. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that would be item number 12, discuss and take action to award a contract to Genker Source for a new F-350 dump body truck and related equipment not to exceed $80,385, purchase off state contract as part of the capital improvement program, highway department, vehicle replacement schedule, and authorize the first selectman to sign all contracts and documents associated with this award, with the Board of Finance 10/19/2022.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great, okay, all right, good, so we got that done, which was great, and then, item number 13 is just to set the town meeting, discuss and take action to approve the call to special town meeting, campus room A, Monday, November 28th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. for the following items. To approve a special appropriation amount not to exceed $130,000 to purchase one 2022 F-250 pickup truck and related equipment, and one 2022 Ford F-350 dump body truck and related equipment in the state of Connecticut contract.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. You could be an auctioneer with that.
Okay, item number 14, is, for discussion purposes, the holiday schedule for 2023. I want to highlight that the state of Connecticut, has now set an official holiday for June 19th. Juneteenth, we call it, that became a federal holiday, and then the state adopted it to go into effect this October. So next year, that's also going to be a state holiday. And so I guess the discussion is typically kind of followed state holidays recognized, and so that would be an additional day to the holiday schedule that we will be giving staff and closed for town operations on June 19th. So I want to, the rest of these are obviously standard ones that we've done in all the previous years that I can recall that we've had for the staff.
Are we approving it today or?
No, I'm just highlighting that, you know, if there's any discussion about this, I don't think we're voting to approve today.
No. Peggy, may I just note, and there might be a reason, but Veterans Day, I see it's on a Saturday, the 10th, on the 10th. And I always thought Veterans Day was the 11th month, 11th day, 11th hour. So we just check.
It is on the 11th, but that's a Saturday, so we observe it on the Friday. So the holiday, you know, for day off would be on the Friday. So all the
Oh, day
that's a
off.
federal- yeah.
But we'll be having the parade on the 11th.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep. So I just wanted, is there going to be any objection to adding Juneteenth to the holiday schedule?
If it makes Stacy
Yeah.
happy.
So we can, I mean, we can vote on this as part of the package, I guess, at the next meeting, or do we need to,
It's only on there as a review.
do you want to do that so we don't have to do it later?
Sure.
Okay, you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Do we have to amend the agenda? Do we have to open the agenda? Or just amend the, what's the?
We open the agenda for the purposes of approving the holiday schedule for 2023.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Oh, we gotta vote on.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I'll make a motion to approve the town holiday schedule for 2023. Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Make a lot of employees very happy with that. Okay, good. I will not vote on these other things because I haven't checked this with my own calendars. But I think we all need to look at this schedule.
I did have a question on Monday, April 24th, a 6 p.m. meeting. Is that a typo?
It's
April 24th, listed at 6 P.M.
The only one, it's the only evening meeting scheduled for 6.
It's at Folsom though, so is that having to do with
There's a
the
reason
budget,
for that, yeah,
budget or
it's,
something?
which that might, that's probably gonna get changed. Sorry, we're looking at the board of selectmen schedule, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that whole day might actually change, but that meeting time, I think, stays the same. Because it happens before the public hearing.
okay,
Just the budget, related to budget.
I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then we usually stop and then we restart if we have to.
Yeah, I think that's what we've done in the past, right? We had our meeting and then we broke to the budget. We did that last year.
We did,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, okay. I will comment that, so I guess the other discussion is we're good with our 8 AM, 7 PM alternating schedule, Zoom and hybrid. We want to continue.
I like
with
that, yeah, it's been great. Yeah, I think it's been working really well.
I think I'm good with that. Are you good with that, Noreen, the times
Yes.
and the
Yes.
format?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, great, okay. So we'll wait on this because you're trying to clarify some things. I haven't actually looked at this in any broader context, so that we can vote on at the next meeting, but make sure you all check your calendars if there's no big problem. And that's, the budget workshop is the one I was a little more like focused on this, so the next one is the budget workshop schedule, note there's 2 copies, because if the charter does change, the timelines are gonna be a little different, so one says no charter change and one says charter change. So, you said, I think it's only like a few minor changes if the charter passes, right? And that's in red.
True, and I sent an update today
Okay,
also, so don't look at the one from the packet on Friday.
Okay.
and I think that, I think just look at your calendars, because the big ones are the joint workshops, really, right?
With
Make
Board
sure
of
that, yeah, with Board of Finance, we're still doing that kind of schedule. And so if you're planning on being away in the end of January at some beach, then we just want to highlight that. Yeah, oh, that's the best time to travel, that's what my husband always says, and I'm like, what?
Your sense of pilot.
Yeah, and we are, I mean, I guess this is this question I have, we've kind of targeted a referendum date. Is the new charter is really, I thought we had the option of doing it even earlier in May if we wanted to, right? So you kind of set this up as a, just sticking to the same kind of schedule with a few tweaks. Not that I'm saying we
Pretty
want to do it
much.
earlier, yeah.
Yeah, we still kept it in the, May 16th, 17th.
Okay.
date on that Tuesday. We did at the beginning of the new calendar that Jacqueline sent out this afternoon. We did up the due date to try to get it all to you sooner. Before the holidays. I have a difficult time at the end of the year. Christmas is away at the beginning of the year. So we wanted to get everything out by December 28th for you all before they, so you have adequate time to look at it before.
Does that mean that I have an earlier deadline?
You do. Yeah.
And you're not allowed to call it from a movement this year.
Yeah, no.
Not happening.
No, it's not happening this year.
Okay, let's look at this, check it, and then, well, that'll be on the next agenda for approval. So,
Sounds good.
okay. And I think, yeah, so actually, it's, okay, citizens comments, any citizens comments, John?
Hands are raised.
That, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.